My Sister Jodie by Jacqueline Wilson. Chapter 1. Jodie. It was the first word I ever said. Most babies lisp mama or dada or drinky or teddy. Maybe everyone names the thing they love best. I said Jodie, my sister. Okay, I said Dodie because I couldn't say my J's properly, but I knew what I meant. I said her name first every morning. Jodie, Jodie, wake up, please wake up. She was hopeless in the mornings. I always woke up early, 6 o'clock, sometimes even earlier. When I was little, I'd delve around my bed to find my 3 nighttime teddies, and then take them for a dawn trek up and down my duvet. I put my knees up, and they'd clamber up the mountain and then slide down. Then they'd burrow back to base camp and tuck into their pretend porridge for breakfast. I wasn't allowed to eat anything so early. I wasn't even allowed to get up. I was fine, once I could read. Sometimes I got through a whole book before the alarm went off. Then I'd lie, staring at the ceiling, making up my own stories. I'd wait as long as I could, and then I'd climb into Jodie's bed and whisper her name, give her a little shake and start telling her the new story. They were always about 2 sisters. They went through an old wardrobe into a magic land, or they went to stage school and became famous actresses, or they went to a ball in beautiful long dresses and danced in glass slippers. It was always hard to get Jodie to wake up properly. It was as if she'd fallen down a long dark tunnel in the night. It took her ages to crawl back to the surface, but eventually she'd open one eye and her arm went around me automatically. I'd cuddle up and carry on telling her the story. I had to keep nudging her and saying, "You are still awake, aren't you, Jodie?" "I'm wide awake," she mumbled, but I had to give her little prods to make sure. When she was awake, she'd sometimes take over the story. She'd tell me how the 2 sisters ruled over the magic land as twin queens, and they acted in their own daily television soap, and they danced with each other all evening at the ball until way past midnight. Jodie's stories were always much better than mine. I begged her to write them down, but she couldn't be bothered. "You write them down for me," she said. "You're the one that wants to be the writer." I wanted to write my own stories and illustrate them too. "I can help you with the ideas," said Jodie. "You can do all the drawings and I'll do the colouring in." "So long as you do it carefully in the right colours," I said, because Jodie nearly always went over the lines, and sometimes she coloured faces green and hair blue just for the fun of it. "Okay, Miss Picky," said Jodie. "I'll help you out, but that won't be my real job. I'm going to be an actress. That's what I really want to do. Imagine standing there, all lit up, with everyone listening, hanging on your every word. Maybe one of my stories could be turned into a play, and then you could have the star part. Yeah, I'll be an overnight success and be offered mega millions to make movies, and we'll live together in a huge great mansion," said Jodie. "What does a mansion look like?" I said. "Can it have towers? Can our room be right at the top of a tower?" "All the rooms are our rooms, but we'll share a very special room right at the top of a tower. Only I'm not going to let you grow your hair any longer." She pulled one of my plaits. "I don't want you tossing it out of the window and letting any wicked old witches climb up it." Jodie nudged me. She had started to have a lot of arguments with our mother. She often called her a witch, or worse, but only under her breath. "Don't worry, I'll keep my plaits safely tied up. No access for wicked witches," I said, giggling, though I felt a bit mean to Mum. "What about handsome princes?" "Definitely not," I said. "It'll be just you and me in mansion towers, living happily ever after." It was just our silly early morning game, though I took it more seriously than Jodie. I drew our imaginary mansion, often slicing it open like a doll's house so I could illustrate every room. I gave us a huge black velvet sofa with 2 big black toy pumas lolling at either end. We had 2 real black cats for luck lapping from little bowls in the kitchen, 2 poodles curled up together in their dog basket, while twin black ponies grazed in a paddock beside our rose garden. I coloured each rose carefully and separately: deep red, salmon peach, very pale pink, apricot and yellow. I even tried to do every blade of grass individually, but had to see sense after dabbing delicately for half an hour, my hand aching. I gave us a 4-poster bed with red velvet curtains and a ruby chandelier, and one wall was a vast television screen. We had a turquoise swimming pool in the basement with our twin pet dolphins, and a roof garden between the towers where skylarks and bluebirds skimmed the blossom trees. I printed the title of each of our books in the library in weenie writing and drew every item of food on our kitchen shelves. I gave us a playroom with a trampoline and a trapeze and a jukebox, and one of those machines you get at the seaside where you have to manoeuvre a crane to pick up little furry teddies. I drew tiny teddies every colour of the rainbow, and I had a shelf of big teddies in our bedroom, and a shelf of old-fashioned dolls with real hair and glass eyes, and a splendid rocking horse big enough for both of us to ride on. I talked about it to Jodie, as if we'd really lived there one day. Sometimes I imagined it so vividly it seemed like a real place. I just had to work out which road to take out of town, and then I'd round a corner and spot the towers. I'd run fast. though the elaborate wrought-iron gates, up to the front door with the big lion's head locker. I'd know how to press the lion's snout with my finger, and the door would spring open, and I'd step inside, and Jodie would be there waiting for me. I wasn't stupid. I knew it wasn't really real, but it felt as if it might be all the same. Then one morning at breakfast, everything changed. I was sitting at the kitchen table nibbling at a honey sandwich. I liked opening the sandwich up and licking the honey, letting it ooze over my tongue, but I did it quickly and furtively when Mum wasn't looking. She was very strict about table manners. She was forever nagging Jodie about sitting up straight and spooning her cornflakes up quietly without clanking the spoon against the bowl. Jodie slumped further into an S shape and clanked until she nearly cracked the china. Mum took hold of her by the shoulders and gave her a good shaking. "Stop winding me up, you contrary little what's-it," she said, going shake, shake, shake. Jodie's head rocked backwards and forwards on her stiff shoulders. "You're hurting her," said Dad, putting down his Daily Express and looking anxious. "She's not hurting me," Jodie gasped, waggling her head herself, and then she started da-da-da-da-da part of the weird old Bohemian Rhapsody song, when everyone bangs their heads to the music. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. "Stop that silly row! I suppose you think you're funny," said Mum. But Dad was laughing and shaking his own head. "You're a right head case, are Jodie," he said. "Trust you to encourage her, Joe," said Mum. "Why do you always have to take Jodie's side?" "Because I'm my daddy's girl," said Jodie, batting her eyelashes at Dad. She was, too. She was always in trouble now, bunking off school and staying out late. Mum could shake her head until it snapped right off her shoulders, but she couldn't control her. But Dad could still sometimes make her hang her head and cry because she'd worried them so. He'd never say a bad word against Jodie. It's not her fault, okay? She's always been a bit headstrong, but she's basically been a good little kid. She's just got in with the wrong crowd now, that's all. She's no worse than any of her mates at school," he said. "Quite," said Mum. "Moorcroft's a rubbish school. The kids aren't taught properly at all. They just run wild. Half of them are in trouble with the police. It was the biggest mistake in the world letting our Jodie go there. She's heading for trouble in a big way. Just look at her." I thought Jodie looked wonderful. She used to have pale, mousy hair in meek little plaits, but now she'd dyed her hair a dark orangey red with streaky gold bits. She wore it in a funny spiky ponytail with a fringe she'd cut herself. Dad says she looked like a pot of marmalade. He'd spread her on toast if she didn't watch out. Mum said Jodie had ruined her hair and now she looked tough and tarty. Jodie was thrilled. She wanted to look tough and tarty. Then there were her ears. Jodie had been begging Mum to let her have her ears pierced. Mum always said no. So last year Jodie went off and got her ears pierced herself. She kept going back, so there were 5 extra little rings up one ear. "You've got more perforations than a blooming colander," said Dad. Mum was outraged at each and every new piercing. Hey, they're only pretty little earrings," said Dad. "It's not as if she's got a nose stud or a tattoo." "Yet," Jodie whispered to me. She'd tried going to a tattoo parlour, but they said she was too young. She inked butterflies and bluebirds and daisy chains up and down her arms and legs with my felt pens instead. She looked incredible in her underwear with her red gold hair and her earrings and her fake tattoos. But her clothes were mostly as dull and little girly as mine. Jodie didn't have enough money to buy much herself. Mum was in charge when it came to clothes buying. Dad didn't dare slip Jodie some money anymore. She told him this story about her clunky school shoes rubbing her toes sore, so he gave her £40 for some new ones. She bought her first pair of proper high heels, fantastic, flashy, sparkly red shoes, and clacked happily around the house in them, deaf to Mum's fury. She let me try them out. They were so high I immediately fell over, twisting my ankle, but I didn't care. I felt like Dorothy wearing her ruby slippers in The Wizard of Oz. Jodie was wearing the clunky school shoes this morning, and the grey Moorcroft uniform. She'd done her best to customise it, hitching up the skirt as high as she could, and she'd pinned funny badges on her blazer. She'd inked little cartoon characters all over her school tie. Mum started on a new nag about the tie, but she interrupted herself when she heard the letterbox bang. "Post, Pearl! Go and get it, pet!" I'm Pearl. When I was born, Mum called me her precious little Pearl, and the name stuck. I was born prematurely and had to stay tucked up in an incubator for more than a month. I only weighed a kilo, and was still so little when they were allowed to bring me home that Dad had to cradle me in one of his hands. They were very worried about Jodie's reaction to me. She was a harum-scarum little girl who always twisted off her dolls' heads and kicked her teddies, but she was incredibly careful with me. She held me very gently and kissed my little wrinkled forehead and stroked my fluffy hair and said I was the best little sister in the whole world. I picked up the post, a catalogue for Mum. She wrote off for them all, clothes, furniture, commemorative plates, reproduction china dolls, anything she thought would add a touch of class to our household, and a letter addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Wells. Mum and Dad. A proper letter in a big white envelope, not a bill. I wondered who would be writing to them. I hoped it wasn't a letter from the head of Moorcroft complaining about Jodie. I knew she and her friends had been caught smoking once or twice. Sometimes they sneaked out of school at lunchtime to go and get chips and didn't always bother to go back again. Jodie didn't like smoking. She told me privately. It made her feel sick and dizzy. And she also said the school chips were much better than the pale greasy ones in polystyrene pouches from the chippy. But she was trying to keep in with Marie and Siobhan and Shanice. They were the three toughest girls in Jodie's class. If you kept them on side, you were laughing. Pearl, Mum called. I fingered the letter in my hand, wondering if I should stick it up under my school sweater until we could steam it open in private. But then Mum came out into the hall and saw the letter before I could whip it out of sight. She barely glanced at the catalogue, even though it was the one for little enamel pill boxes, one of her favourites. She took hold of the letter and ran her finger under the seal. It's for Dad too, I said quickly. He'd be softer on Jodie. He always was. Mr. and Mrs., said Mum, opening it. There was a letter inside and some sort of brochure. I peered at it as best I could. I saw the words boarding school. My heart started beating fast. Boarding school. Boarding school. Boarding school. Oh God, they were going to send Jodie to boarding school. I wouldn't be able to bear it. No, Mum, I said, my voice a little squeak. Mum was reading the letter intently, her head moving from side to side. No, what? She murmured, still reading. Don't send Jodie away, I said. Mum blinked at me. Don't be silly, she said, walking back into the living room. She flapped the letter in front of Dad's face. Look, Joe, look, she said. Here it is in black and white. Well, I'll be damned, said Dad. I told you so, said Mum triumphantly. Jodie pushed her cornflakes bowl away and got up from the table, taking no notice. Sit down, Jodie, said Mum. But I'll be late for school, said Jodie. It won't matter just this once, said Mum. Sit down. You too, Pearl. Your dad and I have got something to tell you. What? Said Jodie, sitting back on the very edge of her chair. You getting a divorce? Don't be ridiculous. You're going to have another baby. Stop it now. Just button that lip of yours for 2 seconds. Jodie mimed buttoning her lips. I copied her, zipping mine. Mum glared. Now, don't start copying your sister, miss. Shame on you, Jodie. You're a bad example. It's just as well you'll be making a move. I can't believe how badly you behave nowadays. You are sending her off to this boarding school, I wailed. What boarding school? Said Jodie, looking startled. You mean you're getting rid of me? No, of course we're not, said Dad. We're all going. I've got a new job. We both have, your mum and me. We stared at them. New jobs. At a school. Dad worked as a carpenter for a small building firm, and Mum was a waitress at Jenny's tea shop, opposite the town hall. Are you going to be teachers? I said doubtfully. Dad burst out laughing. Heaven help any pupils if I had to teach them their reading and writing. No, sweetheart. I'm going to be the school caretaker. Your mum's going to be the school cook. We saw this advert for a married couple and it seemed like we might fit the bill. It's time for a move, said Mum. We need to get you girls away to a decent environment where you can grow up into little ladies. Jodie made a very unladylike noise. We like it here, don't we, Pearl? We don't want to go to some awful jolly hockey sticks boarding school. I picked up the school brochure. I shivered when I saw the coloured photograph of the huge grey Victorian building. My fingers traced the gables and turrets and the tower. It was called Melchester College, but it was just like my dream world mansion towers. Look, I said, pointing. Look, Jodie. Jodie looked too. She bit her lip, fiddling with the little row of earrings running down her left ear. We'd live there, she said. There's a special caretaker's flat, said Dad. It's got all the mod cons, even though it all looks so old-fashioned, said Mum. So, you've both been to see it. When? Said Jodie. Why didn't you tell us? Did you fix it all up behind our backs? Hey, none of it's been fixed up, said Dad. We haven't even been to see the college ourselves. We went to this interview at a hotel in London while you two were at school. We didn't say anything because we didn't want to get your hopes up. To tell the truth, I never thought in a million years they'd take me on. I mean, I'm fine with wood, but I'm a bit of a botcher when it comes to plumbing or painting. Don't be silly, Joe. You're a skilled carpenter and a fine odd job man. What else could they possibly want? Said Mum. No. I think we got the job because of your cooking and management skills, said Dad, reaching out and patting her hand. You were dead impressive at the interview, Sharon. The way you had a list of sample meals all sorted out, that was fantastic. Where is this Melchester College? Why can't I still go to Moorcroft? I don't mind a long bus ride, says Jodie. It would have to be a very long bus ride. It's a good 100 miles away, right out in the country, said Mum. No, you'll be moving, thank heaven. No, I'm not, said Jodie. I'm staying with all my mates at Moorcroft. I hate that word. It's friends, said Mum. And that's the whole point of us moving away. I'm sick to death of you hanging around with that deadbeat crowd, acquiring bad habits. We're moving in the nick of time, before you start seriously studying for your GCSEs and before Pearl starts secondary school. You girls need to make something of yourselves, and now we're giving you a golden opportunity." Mum stroked the shiny brochure. "Melchester College," she said slowly and reverently, as if it was a magic word like abracadabra. "Melchester College," Jodie mocked. She glanced at the brochure. "It looks dead posh. Says it's for 4 to 13-year-olds. Who could send a little kid of 4 to boarding school?" "It's a day school too. Not everyone boards. It's very select. Naturally, it prides itself on the teacher-pupil ratio and the outstanding pastoral care," said Mum, quoting. "So what does that mean?" said Jodie. "It means it's a very good school," Mum snapped. "It costs a great deal of money to send a child there. It's a wonderful opportunity for you two." "You mean we're supposed to have lessons there?" said Jodie. "That's the whole point," said Mum. "You've learned nothing this last year at Moorcroft. We're going to have you repeating year 8, getting properly taught." "I'm not repeating a year with a lot of posh kids all younger than me," said Jodie. "But given the right coaching, you could pass this common entrance exam and win a scholarship to one of the public schools," said Mum. "What? Are you crazy, Mum? I'm not going. Absolutely no way." Jodie was shouting. Hey, Jodie, listen to me," said Dad. "We'll be there all through the summer holidays, so you'll have lots of time to settle in. I know we're going to love it. You're going to love it when we get there." "I won't. I'll hate it. I'm not going. You can't make me." "Of course we can. You'll do as we say. You're our daughter." "I wish I wasn't. Maybe I'm not. Maybe you adopted me and that's why I'm so different and never feel like I fit in," Jodie yelled. "Don't start, Jodie. You're doing my head in," said Dad. "Don't spoil it all. Like your mum says, it's a wonderful opportunity. We thought you girls would be thrilled to bits." "Well, we're not, are we, Pearl?" said Jodie. She looked at me. I looked back at her helplessly. "Do you really want to go there?" she asked, astonished. I struggled. I nearly always copied Jodie, even if it got me into trouble. But we didn't always have the same ideas, although we were such close sisters. Jodie had hated it at Moorcroft at first. She'd been horribly teased about her girly plaits and neat uniform and nice manners. She had cut off her hair and changed her clothes and learned to talk tough. So now she was fine, one of the gang. Some of the kids were even scared of her. I'd be scared of her myself if she wasn't my sister. I knew I wouldn't be able to manage Moorcroft. I had nightmares about going there in September. I got horribly teased now, in year 6 in the juniors. I was still very small for my age and looked very babyish. I worked hard and came top in class. I was useless at sport. I always had my head in a book. I blushed whenever our teacher talked to me in class. I never knew what to say to all the others. It was as if I had an arrow up above me. Tease this kid. Melchester College looked like the sort of place where everyone wore proper uniform and worked hard and tried to come top. And even if the lessons were awful, Jodie and I would still be living in a real-life version of Mansion Towers. Maybe we'd even be able to share a tower room. "You can't want to go there, Pearl," said Jodie. "I think I do," I mumbled. "Well, I don't," said Jodie. She folded her arms. "You go, Pearl, fine, but no one's going to make me go there." "I can't go without you," I said, starting to cry. "There now, you've reduced your sister to tears. I hope you're proud of yourself," said Mum. "Why do you always have to spoil things for everyone? Poor little Pearl. Say sorry to her, Jodie. She's sobbing her heart out." "I think you should all say sorry to me, trying to force me off to this stupid, snobby school. I'm not going. I'm not changing my mind, not in a million years," Jodie shouted, and she slammed out of the door. But that night, when I started crying again in bed, she sighed and slid under the duvet beside me. "Stop all that blubbing, silly. Do you really, really want to go to Melchester College, Pearl?" "Yes, but not without you," I sobbed. "You're going to have to stand on your own 2 feet sometime," said Jodie. "But all right, I'll come too, just so as I can look after you, okay?" "You'll really come to Melchester College," I said, putting my arms around her neck and hugging her tight. "Yes, I'll hate it, but I'll come, just for you," said Jodie. "Now quit strangling me and snuggle up and go to sleep. Chapter 2. I wonder how many times we said the words Melchester College over the next few weeks. Mum tried out special traditional school dinner recipes every day. Shepherd's pie, toad in the hole, meatloaf. They were all pretty horrible, but she did real puddings too. Jam roly-poly and treacle pudding and sherry trifle. And they were absolutely wonderful. Dad kissed his fingertips and said each dish was truly scrumptious. He even sang the truly scrumptious song from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang to Mum, and she giggled and did a little dance, swishing her skirts and twirling around. They were fooling about like teenagers all of a sudden, not acting like Mum and Dad at all. Mum didn't nag Jodie so much, although she got really, really mad when Jodie went out with Marie, Siobhan and Shanice on Thursday night, supposedly to a church youth club. Jodie promised she'd be in around 10:30. She didn't get home until way past midnight, wobbling in her high red heels. Drunk, Mum exploded, and she slapped Jodie's face. I was sitting at the top of the stairs, shivering in my nightie, anxiously gnawing at a hangnail on my thumb. The slap was such a shock I ripped the hangnail halfway down my thumb, making it bleed. It was so sore that tears sprang to my eyes. Jodie didn't cry, though. When she came to our bedroom, one side of her face was still bright scarlet from the slap. "Oh, Jodie, are you really drunk?" I asked, wondering whether she was going to start reeling around and falling over like comic drunks on the telly. "Not really drunk," said Jodie, peering at herself in the mirror. "I did feel a bit weird when we came out of the club, but then I puked into the gutter and I felt better." "Did you have real drinks at Shanice's youth club then?" I said. "As if," said Jodie. We weren't at her youth club. We went proper clubbing. The under-18s night at the Rendezvous." "You never?" "You didn't, dear. You've got to remember to speak nicely now you're going to Melchester College," said Jodie, imitating Mum's voice. "Shh, Mum will hear," I said, giggling. "So what was it like, clubbing? Was it scary? Did you dance with any boys?" "I danced with heaps of boys," said Jodie. "More than Shanice and them. And they got a bit narked and went off without me. Marie said I was a slag because I let this boy snog my face off." "You never?" "Didn't. Whatever. Which boy?" "I don't know. He told me his name, but I couldn't hear it properly because it was so noisy. Marty or Barty? Maybe it was Farty." "Jodie." "He wouldn't leave me alone, and I let him slobber all over me just to annoy Marie because she'd said she fancied him. She was welcome to him, actually. To all of them. Just as well I couldn't hear them talk. It was just rubbish anyway. I don't like the way boys just want to dance and snog and touch you up. They don't want to be mates." "I don't like boys either," I said. "Some of the girls in my class have got boyfriends. They say I'm a baby." "Well, I'm a baby too, because I haven't got a boyfriend, and I don't want one either," said Jodie, rubbing her lips fiercely with the back of her hand. She flopped down on her bed and pulled the duvet up to her chin, even though she was fully dressed, with her high heels still on. "Night-night, pearly girlie," she said, closing her eyes. "Hey, you've still got your shoes on." I knelt on her bed and wiggled her shoes off her feet. She had a hole in her tights, her big toe sticking through comically. I waggled it and Jodie giggled sleepily. "Give over, come to bed, Pearl," she said, reaching out and pulling me in beside her. "You're freezing like a little snowman," she said, cuddling me close. "We don't ever have to have boyfriends, do we? Jodie, we can still have our own place together, can't we?" "Mansion Towers," Jodie mumbled. "I can't believe we're going to live in Manchester College." "Melchester College, sorry," I said. I closed my eyes, nestling against Jodie in her warm bed. I saw us wandering the grounds of the college together, having picnics on the lawn, paddling in the lake, picking raspberries and strawberries in the kitchen garden. We didn't have any kind of garden at home, because Dad's workshop took up all of our backyard. He potted out there most evenings, but I don't think he ever did much work. He watched his little portable telly, brewed himself a cup of tea and enjoyed a bit of peace and quiet. Mum was forever on to him to make her a new kitchen unit, but he never seemed to get around to it, just managing the odd cupboard or shelf. I'd begged him to make me a doll's house. I'd hoped for a miniature Mansion Towers, but he made me a small square 4-roomed house with a wobbly chimney stuck on top. He'd tried so hard, sticking special red checked paper on the outside to look like bricks. I gave him a big hug and kiss, but privately I thought the house was hideous. I furnished it with a plastic bed and chair and tables, tried to play games with a family of pink plastic people, but it wouldn't become real. I had much more fun playing house in a cardboard shoebox with a paper family. Jodie had never wanted a doll's house. When she was little, she'd asked Dad to make her a rocket, which was a challenge for him. He struggled hard because he could never say no to Jodie. He handed over his rocket proudly. It was hollow with a little hinge door, pointy at one end, touched up with shiny grey paint. It looked like a big wooden fish. Jodie held it in her hand, looking puzzled. "What is it, Dad?" "It's your rocket, sweetheart," said Dad. Jodie wasn't good at hiding her feelings. Her face crumpled up. "But it's much too small. I can't get in it," she wailed. "I want to go up to the moon." "Daddy can't make you a real rocket, you noodle," said Mum. Jodie howled. Mum laughed at her. Even Dad found it funny. I wasn't there. I wasn't even born yet. But the story had become family history, passed down like a folk tale. We found the rocket at the bottom of Jodie's wardrobe when we were sorting through all our things for the big move. "My rocket," said Jodie, dusting it with an old sock. She made it swoop in and out of her clothes, and then she stood back and chucked it into the air so that its pointy, wooden nose hit the ceiling with a satisfying thunk. It made a little dent in the ceiling plaster, and then hurtled back to Earth. Jodie caught it one-handed. "We have liftoff, brief landing on ceiling and perfect re-entry," she said. "What was that noise?" said Mum, bursting into the room, a pile of our old clothes in her arms. "Nothing, Mum," we chorused. "Well, come on, girls, get a move on. Get all those old toys sorted into cardboard boxes, then Dad will take them on to the hospice shop in the car." Mum glanced up at the ceiling. "Where did that mark come from?" she said, frowning. "What mark?" we said in unison. "You two," said Mum, but she was in too cheery a mood to get really angry. We heard her humming, truly scrumptious, so as she went back down into her own room. "I don't know what to keep and what to chuck," I said, staring at my toys. "I never play with my Barbies now, or my cut-out paper dolls, or my giant set of wax crayons. They're just for babies, but I don't really want to throw them out." It was easier for Jodie. Most of her old toys were broken. Her old Barbies had skinhead haircuts and tattoos and assorted amputations. Her Teddy had led such an adventurous life that his head was hanging off his shoulders by a thread. Her crayons were stumps and her paints a sludgy mess. "Junk, junk, junkety junk," she chanted as she threw them rhythmically into a black plastic rubbish bag. She grew wilder, throwing in her cream clutch bag and cream pumps, her pink crocheted poncho, her white fluffy toweling dressing gown, her floral tooth mug and flannel and wash bag, her pink alarm clock in the shape of a heart. "Jodie, you'll hurt Mum's feelings," I said. "She never minds hurting mine," said Jodie. "They were presents from her." "Yeah, but they're all stuff she likes, not me." "I quite like them too," I said. "Can I have your dressing gown if you don't want it?" "Sure," said Jodie, wrapping it around me. She laughed. "You look like a polar bear. Here, bear, want a fishy?" She pretended to feed me the wooden rocket, and then chucked it carelessly into the black plastic bag. But that night I heard her scrabbling in the bag, searching for something. I kept quiet. The next morning I saw she'd wedged the rocket beside her red shoes in her small suitcase of treasured possessions. We lived with cases and cardboard boxes all around us for days, never quite sure where anything was, suddenly needing something that was packed right away. Dad was out all day and half the night, trying to complete all the bookshelves and bathroom cabinets on his order book. He had a farewell do with his mates at work and came home all tearful, saying they were a cracking bunch of lads, like brothers to him. We had a farewell Sunday lunch with Dad's real brother, Uncle Jack, and Auntie Pauline, and our two little cousins, Ashley and Amy, and Dad's mum came too. They all wished us the best, and Gran kept saying how much she'd miss us, though whenever we went around to her house, she was always telling us off, especially Jodie. Mum didn't say goodbye to any of her family. She didn't keep in touch. She always sniffed when she spoke about them. Jodie and I would have loved to meet her at this other Gran, who always went down the boozer, and the granddad who'd been on benefit all his life, and we especially wanted to meet the uncle who'd been in and out of the nick. But Mum had left home at 17 and never gone back. She did her last shift at Jenny's tea shop, coming home with a carved wooden spoon and a new apron with Super Cook embroidered in white across the chest. Girls' gifts from her regular customers. Jodie missed school altogether for the last couple of weeks. Marie and Siobhan and Shanice had turned against her, and it was simpler and safer to keep her out of their way. Jodie said she mooched around the town in the mornings, ate the packed lunch Mum made for her down by the river, and then mostly hung around the park until it was time to come home. She liked the children's playground. She always loved little kids. She'd had plenty of practice looking after me. They all ran at her as soon as they spotted her, hanging on her arms, begging her to pick them up, to whirl them about, to give them a push on the swings or help them up and down the little slide. The mums made a fuss of her too because they could sit on the bench and chat amongst themselves while Jodie leapt about like Mary Poppins on skates. "Maybe I'll be a nursery nurse when I'm older," Jodie said happily. "I seem to have the knack for it. Or I could be a nanny, or maybe I'll just have heaps of kids of my own." "I thought you said you didn't want to get married," I said. "I don't. You don't have to have a husband to have lots of children," said Jodie, winking at me. "Mum would go spare if she heard you saying that," I said. "Mum goes spare at everything, I say," said Jodie. "What if she finds out you're bunking off from school?" "She won't. I'm leaving anyway. So what does it matter?" Jodie said carelessly. She didn't bother to go back to say goodbye to anyone. I didn't actually say goodbye to many people at my school either. I didn't really have any proper friends. I did say a proper goodbye to my teacher, Mrs. Lambert, because she was always kind to me. "I'm so happy for you that you're going to this boarding school, Pearl. It's a wonderful opportunity. You're a very bright girl. I know you'll make the most of it." She straightened up, shaking her head now. "What about that big sister of yours? How does she feel about going?" I shrugged awkwardly. "I was very fond of Jodie, though. She was always a handful," she said, smiling. "Still, maybe she'll turn into a lovely young lady at boarding school." Chapter 3. We got up at 6 sharp on moving day. Even Jodie. Mum had been practicing big breakfast fry-ups, egg and bacon and sausage, sometimes black pudding and hash browns and bubble and squeak as well. But this morning we had a marmalade sandwich and a mug of tea as we worked, doing all the last-minute packing up. Dad was useless, fretting about his work tools, taking them out of their boxes and unwinding all the bubble wrap. I'm just checking, he kept muttering when Mum screamed at him. I tried to help Mum pack up in the kitchen, but I was trying to be too quick, too eager, because I knew she wanted everything out of the way before she gave the floor one last scrub. The milk jug slipped right out of my hands and crashed on the floor, shattering into blue and white shards and splashing all over my socks. For pity's sake, Jodie, Mum snapped. It came out automatically. She was so used to telling Jodie off and not me. Pearl, I mean, you silly careless girl. Jodie herself was clearing up the bathroom, packing all the washing things into one last box and then cleaning the basin, the bath, the toilet, the floor. I'll give it a going over after you. You'll leave it all smeary, said Mum. But when Jodie called for her inspection, she had to shake her head. Well, you've made a really good job of it, Jodie. Look at that shine. There, it just shows that what you can do when you put your mind to it. Mum sounded almost put out, as if Jodie was playing a trick on her. As soon as the two removal men came, Mum got them clearing the living room first, while she vacuumed busily behind them. We followed when they went on into the big bedroom, trying to help with the small stuff while they tackled the heavy furniture and the carpets. Jodie rolled me right up in a rug, calling me her Pearl Swiss roll, while Big Alf and young Bernie roared with laughter. Big Alf seemed the same size as Bernie, and they looked about the same age too, but these were their official names for each other. I'm Big Jodie then, and you're young Pearl, said Jodie. They laughed again and started chatting away to her as they collapsed the bed and swathed the mirrors in bubble wrap. Jodie tore off a strip herself and started popping it, sitting on the edge of the dressing table. She kept giggling at their jokes. I giggled too, though I didn't understand half of them. Mum peered around the corner and looked cross. Jodie, how dare you? Get off that dressing table. You'll make marks on the wood. And Pearl, why is your dress all creased? Whatever have you been up to? She glared at Big Alf and young Bernie too. When she was gone, they waggled their eyebrows and pulled faces. Jodie pulled faces too, and they pretended to tut at her. You're a saucy baggage, said Big Alf. You're going to be a handful in a couple of years. I reckon she's a handful right now, said young Bernie. He pursed his mouth up like a goldfish and made slurpy kissing noises at Jodie. I suddenly stopped liking him, but Jodie laughed and made kissing noises back at him. I tried to tug her away, telling her I needed her to help me bubble wrap my doll's house. That's it. You go and pack up all your dollies. But we need Big Jodie to give us a hand here, said young Bernie. Jodie jumped down from the dressing table, doing a little tap dance in her red shoes and finishing with a flourish, so that Big Alf and young Bernie clapped. But then she smiled at me. Come on, Pearl. She marched us out of the room, neatly avoiding young Bernie's patting hand with a twitch of her hips. You don't like him, do you? I whispered on the landing. Of course not, said Jodie. Then why were you mucking around flirting with him? Because it's fun, said Jodie. Take that look off your face. You look like Mum. Now, let's get your doll's house done. She wrapped it up expertly, stopping for a few last pops of the bubbles. There, all done. I don't really play with it any more, I said, running my fingers over the chimney and sighing. And it'll make our new bedroom look ever so babyish, but I can't chuck it out. Dad would be so hurt. Maybe we'll be able to shove it in a cupboard, said Jodie. So, we're having a grown-up glamorous bedroom, are we? No fluffy teddies, no fairy lamps, no posters of cute little puppies. I hesitated. Jodie laughed. She knew I was devoted to Edgar Allan and Poe, the little triplet black bears who lurked in a cave under my pillow all day and came out to play with me at night. She knew I was frightened in the dark, even cuddled up close with her in her bed. I needed my fairy nightlight to shine softly so I could see if there was anything creeping up on me. She knew how much I wanted a puppy, though Mum thought all animals were nasty, messy nuisances and wouldn't even let us have a hamster. I had one lovely poster of white poodle puppies that I pinned above my bed. I gave all 4 puppies names: Ice Cream, Sugar, Salt and Mashed Potato. Mashed potato, said Jodie, snorting. Well, I wanted white food things, and it was all I could think of, I said huffily. I think it's a lovely name for a big puppy. He looks like fluffy mashed potato. I pretended he was the naughtiest, forever fighting with his brother Salt and pushing his dainty little sisters out of the way. I even used to pretend to take them for walks, whistling to them and slapping my knees. But I'd grown out of that now. I suppose I'd grown out of my poster and the lamp and the 3 teddies, but I couldn't bear the thought of chucking them in a black plastic rubbish bag. Don't look so worried, Pearl, said Jodie. Of course you're keeping them. You can have your lamp by your bed, and the puppy poster above your bed, and the teddies in your bed, same as always. But it won't be very glamorous then, I said. Yes, it will. It'll have us in it, said Jodie, striking a sexy lady pose. Her chest stuck out and her hand on her hip. Come on, look glam too. She grabbed 2 rolled balls of socks out of my suitcase and stuck them up under my t-shirt. There you are, Pearl. Instant boob job. Show them off then. I stuck out my socks and waggled my bottom, pursing my mouth up to do fishy kisses like young Bernie. Jodie shrieked with laughter, clutching me so that we both overbalanced, falling onto my suitcase. For pity's sake, said Mum, poking her head round the door. What are you two up to? We haven't got time to mess about. We've got to be packed and out of here by lunchtime. We've packed ourselves, Mum, said Jodie, tucking her legs right into the suitcase. She's a card, that girl of yours, said young Bernie, putting his head around the door too. Mum glared at him. She's a very silly little girl, she said. Now, I think we'd all better get on. Young Bernie bobbed back to the bedroom to help Big Alf with the wardrobe. What are you playing at, showing off like that? Mum hissed at Jodie. I won't have you making eyes at that man. He's the one making eyes at me, said Jodie, climbing out of the case. You go out to the shed and help your father, said Mum. Pearl, tidy this mess and then come and give me a hand. What's that stuck up your t-shirt? Oh, for goodness sake. We were all exhausted by the time we'd emptied the house. Big Alf and young Bernie went off for an early lunch break, while Jodie and I wandered around the house hand in hand, saying goodbye to each room. It looked so strange now it was empty, almost as if we hadn't really lived there. It was a comfort seeing the penciled marks on the kitchen door, where Dad measured our height each birthday. Jodie on the left, me on the right. It's not fair. I won't ever be able to catch you up now, I said. Quite right too, little titchy face, said Jodie, squeezing my hand. When we looked around, there were marks made by Jodie everywhere, biro scribbles and paint spills, scuffs where she'd kicked the doors, crumbling plaster where she'd once whirled her school bag and it had banged the wall, a cracked window pane where she'd thrown a tennis ball, a splintered floorboard where she'd stamped hard. I'd been scared she'd stamp her way right through the floor like Rumpelstiltskin in the fairy tale. We walked this Jodie devastation trail, telling each other the story of every mark and crack and splinter, both of us giggling. It's not a laughing matter, said Mum. You're a total disgrace, Jodie. The landlord will think we've been keeping a wild animal in the house. I don't think we stand a chance of getting our £500 deposit back. Every house has to put up with a little wear and tear, said Dad. His voice was hoarse, his eyes overly bright, as if he was about to cry. I'm sorry, Dad, said Jodie, sobering up. Look, I'll save up and pay the deposit out of my pocket money. Well, we'll all be in our graves by the time you've paid it off, Mum sniffed. Jodie glared at her. I'll get a Saturday job when I'm old enough, you'll see, and I can do babysitting now, easy peasy. Please, don't look so upset, Dad. No, it's not the deposit, Pet. I'm just, well, it sounds so soppy, but I'm sad to be leaving. We've been so happy here, the 4 of us. We stared at him. My 3 girls, said Dad, holding out his arms. You sentimental old sausage, said Mum, but she gave him a quick peck on the cheek. Dad grabbed her and pulled Jodie and me into a hug too. We all clung together tightly for a moment. Jodie's shoulders started shaking. I thought she might be laughing, but when I wriggled sideways to take a good look at her, I saw she was crying. Jodie, I said, stricken, because she hardly ever cried. What's up now, said Mum. Jodie? I wish we weren't going. Dad's right, we have been so happy here. I don't want to go to Melchester College. Don't be so silly, said Mum. We'll be much happier there. It's our golden opportunity. Now dry your eyes and pull yourself together, you daft hapoof. Mum looked at me. Oh, for pity's sake, Pearl, don't you start blubbing too. I was crying because I felt so guilty. I knew Jodie had only agreed to go to Melchester College for my sake. Maybe I didn't want to go there either now. We all cheered up when we were in the car, actually on our way. Mum had packed a picnic. We expected another round of marmalade sandwiches, but there was a surprise homemade chicken and ham pie, Scotch eggs and cheese straws and a tomato salad, and then Mum's special pink-iced fairy cakes, studded with little silver balls. She always made them for our birthdays, and the birthday girl had to make a special wish, eating her cake with her eyes closed. We can all make a wish today, said Mum, feeding Dad as he drove. Well, I don't think I'd better close my eyes, said Dad, chomping happily. He pretended he thought Mum's fingers were the icing and licked them appreciatively. Get off, you sloppy devil. You're making me all slurpy, said Mum, but she was giggling. Jodie wolfed down her own cake, eyes squeezed shut, her long lashes fanned out. Then she swallowed, opened her eyes and smiled. What did you wish for? I asked. It won't come true if I tell you, she said. Oh, go on, please, I begged her. Absolutely not, said Jodie, licking her lips. I'll tell you what I wished, I said. I know what that will be, said Jodie. I won't say it properly because then your wish won't come true either. But I bet it involves you and me and Melchester College, and I expect there's a happily ever after at the end. She'd guessed my wish, word for word. "Oh, you," I said. "So, is that what you wish too?" Jodie smiled mysteriously. I could never get her to tell me anything if she didn't want to. No one could ever guess what Jodie was thinking. She started singing some silly love song about wishes, and then we all joined in, singing old ABBA and Beatles and Queen songs, all Dad's favourites, and Mum joined in too, jiggling up and down in the car, doing arm gestures. "Mum," I said, "you're good at it." "She was always a right little raver at the dance floor," said Dad. "We'll have to go dancing again sometime, Joe," said Mum. "You're not a bad dancer yourself." Jodie and I groaned. Dad was a seriously embarrassing dancer. He waved his arms like a windmill and kicked his legs out sideways. "Maybe Melchester College will have a ball," Jodie joked. "I think they have a leavers dance," said Mum. "There was a photo in the brochure." "Well, we're not leavers," said Dad. "We're joiners. Now, I think we come off the motorway soon, at junction 13. You'll have to have a squint at the map and help me, Sharon." Mum was generally good at navigating, but this time we got hopelessly lost. We drove down one country road after another, sometimes passing a village shop or a converted church or a row of cottages. But then we were into true countryside, with isolated lonely lanes, tangling branches over our heads, a thick leaf canopy casting us into an old green bloom. "It's like the picture of a fairyland in one of my books," I said. "Look, even the trees have got all knobbly bits, so that they look like weird faces." "Watch out for their roots, they're reaching out to grab us," said Jodie, turning her own arms into tree roots and snatching at me. "Ooh, what was that? Did you see that little greeny blue thing flying past? Watch it doesn't get in the window. Its little face was all squinty and evil. Maybe it's going to sting you." She nipped at me now, making me squeal. "Stop it, Jodie. You're scaring your sister," Mum said sharply. "I'm not really scared. It's just fun, Mum," I said. "Well, give over, both of you. You're getting on my nerves," said Mum. "Joe, it looks like we're driving to the ends of the earth. This can't be right. It's not even a real road. It's more a grass track. I think we'd better turn back." "Let's see where we get to," said Dad. "Anyway, we can't do a U-turn. There's not room. We'll end up in the ditch." And so the intrepid family drove on and on into the gloom, on through the night, on through the next day, further and further and further down the long and winding road, until it dawned on them they were never ever going to come to the end, said Jodie dramatically. "Shut up," I said, giving her a little shove. I knew she was joking, of course, but she had a way of making it all seem horribly real. "Don't say shut up, Pearl. It sounds so coarse. Say be quiet. And Jodie, you be quiet. We've all had enough of you." Jodie did a silent pantomime of being quiet, pretending to tie a gag around her mouth, making her eyes pop. We turned down yet another lane, and then another, and then a very windy one up a hill, so we were thrown this way and that, like a fairground ride. "We'd better have another squint at the map, Shaz. You're right, we've gone wrong somewhere," said Dad. "I can't look at the atlas. I'm feeling sick from all these twists and turns," said Mum. "You take a look then, Jodie," said Dad. "Are you a hot shot at map reading, pet?" Jodie, your dad's talking to you." Said Jodie, pointing to her lips. Mum had forgotten all about telling her to be quiet. She reached around and flapped the atlas at Jodie, tapping her about the shoulders. "Don't be so cheeky, miss. Oh, God, I feel so sick, Joe. You're going to have to stop the car." Then Jodie yelled and pointed. "For pity's sake, what now?" said Mum. "Joe, stop. I'm going to throw up any minute." Dad stopped the car at the top of the hill. He pointed too. "Oh, my," he said. I craned forwards in the gap between Mum and Dad and saw for myself. There below us was Melchester College.